Best love confessions I've ever read. I think I might get cancelled for this. Cute and romantic they are. Like, how cool is that? Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. And today I wanted to talk about books, which is one of my favorite topics. It's probably like one of my favorite hobbies. I used to read a lot when I was younger and I kind of fell off a little bit, but now I'm back into reading, and 2024 was quite a successful year for me for reading. It was like a year where I read quite consistently, which was great, and I wanted to talk about all the books that I read. Last year I read 12 books, which actually is not a lot compared to what I've seen on like Book Talk and stuff, but it was quite an accomplishment for me, and I wanted to like kind of go through every single book that I read and the ranking that I gave that book and why. Yeah, we're just gonna have a little chat about books, which I am so excited for. Before I get into my ranking, let's just remember, we listen and we don't judge, because everyone has different tastes and I just don't want to get cancelled. Because let's be so real, at least one book is gonna be the last book. Not every book can be my favourite book of 2024. So, you know, let's just be mindful of that. My lowest ranking book for 2024 is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This got a 2 out of 5. Now, I read this book as part of my book club in school, so from the get-go, like, this is not something that I would pick up myself, because I feel like I read a lot to escape reality, and I kind of like the fantasy, like Harry Potter and stuff like that, and this is very much like real life. There's something really like human about it, which, you know, there is beauty in that, and I feel like a lot of readers do appreciate that, but it's just not for me. There were a lot of things that I wish were discussed a little bit more in the book. For example, Francis and Bobby's dynamic before they met Melissa and Nick, and just a few things like that. I wanted to know more about Nick's past and why he, you know, his struggles with mental health. I feel like a lot of these topics weren't discussed as much, and we kind of got a little bit of the boring stuff in the book. The next book on my ranking, I think I might get cancelled for this. A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. I did not like the perspective change from Feyre to Nesta. This book is meant to be like Nesta's redemption and stuff, but I feel like I'm very much a creature of habit, and once I don't like a character, I don't like a character most of the time, and yeah, that's kind of what happened here. And the level of spice in this book, like, I'm okay with spice, like, it's okay, but it's so graphic in this book. I had to take so many breaks. It just wasn't for me. The next book on my ranking is Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. I'm actually surprised that this is not last. I feel like the plot it gripped me, and I was really like, I did want to read this book, you know. And also the characters were really like interesting, and their dynamics were really interesting, like Merit and her sister. The whole thing at the end about like uncovering all these family secrets and stuff was actually really interesting. The next book on my ranking is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden, and I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5. This is my first Freida McFadden book. I've heard so many good things about her, and I actually get why. This was such a good book. I feel like I literally read it within a week because of how interesting it was, and I literally, at the end of every chapter, I just wanted to know more and more. And then the plot twists in this book are crazy. I feel like there is once you get to like this one major plot twist, you think it's over, but no, it just keeps going and going. And the second last chapter literally gave me chills. It was so like, I don't know how to describe that feeling in like words, but it just gave me chills. So yeah, this was a really good book. I definitely recommend. I definitely want to read the second one and the third one. Next on my ranking is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I think I gave this book a 4 out of 5. I feel like I could relate a lot to the main character, not in terms of like her situation, but just who she is as a person, because, you know, taking on your niece and like kind of cleaning everyone's mess is a big deal, and I think that's what kind of got me through this book. And also like the whole like hope of a happy ending, and also the whole thing of like the mystery of like what's going on and how she even got into this place. This was definitely a really good read for me, and I really want to read the next one. The next book on my ranking is The Maid by Nita Prose. This book was a 4 out of 5. It is so good. I did find this book a little bit slow, but the whole ending, I would have never guessed. I really love books like that where like you can like never really guess until right at the end, because it just keeps you like keeps you sucked in for that whole time. There were so many times where there was like a dramatic irony going on where like I knew what was happening but Molly didn't know what was happening. I just wanted to know what she was going to do. The next book on my ranking is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. I gave this book a 4 out of 5. This book is like the Marmite of the ACOTAR series. I feel like you either love it or you hate it, and I really liked it. After such an emotional book that was ACOWAR, this made me feel really happy and like warm and cozy inside, so yeah. And then the next book on my ranking is A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I think I gave this book a 4 out of 5. Honestly, this book would have been higher because I really love The Hunger Games, but it was a bit slow for me in the beginning, which is why it's not like number 1. I feel like it took like 200 pages just to get to the games, which was crazy. Sejanus's death made me cry so much when I read this book, and the amount of foreshadowing in this book is crazy. I'm really looking forward to The Sunrise of the Reaping that's coming out this year. So number 4 on my ranking is ACOTAR by Sarah J Maas. I also gave this book a 4 out of 5. This book is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and Beauty and the Beast is my all-time favorite Disney film. This is kind of like a grown-up version of Beauty and the Beast, and like obviously it's really different because it's fantasy. I will say this book is a lot of world building. There's not as much of like action till like the end, till about here. Most of this is just like Fyra's backstory, but you definitely need to read this book to get to the rest of the series because you'll miss out on all the context. So yeah, number 3 on my ranking is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5. I aspire to be like Alex and Henry when I am older because their relationship is just so special, and this book also taught me a lot about American politics. I'm so glad that I read this before the American election this year because I actually knew what was going on. There's this specific part in here where they go and dance in the Victoria and Albert Museum. And after I finished reading this book, I went to the Victoria and Albert Museum, and the whole time I was just thinking about Alex and Henry and how cute and romantic they are. If there was a second one, I would literally run and like go get it because this book just makes you feel everything. I feel like there's parts in the beginning where like you just like laugh or like get so much secondhand embarrassment, but then there's other parts where like you cry and like you really do understand like the gravity that situation, you know, entails. It makes you think about how everything has a good and bad side in all institutions, whether it is, you know, prestigious ones like the royal family or even just like a regular family. It's an all-in-one book, to be honest. My second most favourite book that I read in 2024 is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. Seeing Fyra realise who she is more as a person, really getting to explore her new role in Prithian. I genuinely loved Tamlin so much in the first book, and then coming to read this, but you know, chapter 54 will always hold another special place in my heart. It is, I feel like, one of the best love confessions I've ever read. How immersive this series is, it like really does like put you on a chokehold and like you just read it all at once. And my most favourite book of 2024 was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas. This book is just what ACOMAF is and so much more. It was a little bit more tactical in terms of like the war that was happening. Seeing Fyra and Rhys navigate their lives together, and also the whole everyone all kind of individually facing issues but also coming together as a team to then fight everyone. And the ending crushed me, which is why I feel like this book was so good to come straight after, because it provides that like happiness after the sorrow type of thing. I really love stuff that makes you feel emotion, and this book was definitely that for me, so that's why it's my favourite. I gave this a 5 out of 5 because it was just so great, and this has kind of introduced me to romantasy, which I really hope to read a lot more this year. I actually forgot about this. I read these 2 books as well in 2024 as part of my EPQ research, so I didn't really include them as like books that I read, even though I did technically read them. Cleopatra, Last Queen of Egypt by Joyce Till Desley. This book is so interesting in general. Like if you're someone who's into history, especially ancient history, especially Egyptology, then this book would be really interesting. It's really cool. It has a whole section on just artifacts and like diving deep into them. It's kind of like just got pictures, like there's a whole section like this where this was Julius Caesar, a statue of him. But if you're also interested in Egyptology in general, then this book is really great. This talks about all of Egyptology. It has a timeline and everything about all the dynasties in Egypt, and basically what the title is, The Rise and Fall of Ancient Egypt. How cool is that? yeah, it's a great book, so definitely recommend this as well if you're interested. This is my physical TBR of 2025. That should last me until my exams, hopefully until the end of my exams. I really wanted to read the Throne of Glass series. Sarah J Maas has like left a good impression on me. I really want to read her other work. This year I also want to try and get a little bit more into like psychological or like books that really make you think, that are kind of like allegories. The Vegetarian by Han Kang, I think is the author. As much as like fiction is great, I also want to enhance my reading palette, enrich my life. I am so excited to read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I'm pretty sure this book has dragons in it, which I'm so excited to read about. And I'm also excited to read Say You Swear. It was a TikTok sensation at the time, and so many people were saying that this book made them believe in love all over again, which might be an exaggeration, but it definitely got me intrigued. I am excited to read this book as well. And that is basically the end of this video. I had a great time just like chatting about books. If there is one thing that you take away from this video, it's that you should read the ACOTAR series. I am telling you right now, you will not regret it at all, if that's what you're into anyways. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're getting into books or you're not really into books but you just enjoy people talking a lot, then I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.